Mandy, thank you very much. All right, are you trying to convince your boss to let you work from home? And this next story may hurt that dream a lot. A Washington Post story highlighting serious abuse of telecommuting by workers at the U.S. Patent Office. An inquiry found that some of the 8,300 patent examiners, about half who are allowed to work from home either full or part-time, repeatedly lied about how many hours they were working, and some even got bonus pay for work they never did. If you thought the story couldn't get worse, it does. Even when bosses believed they found fraud, they were not allowed to pull an employee's computer records, Mandy, to prove.
So we asked, does working from home work? Joining us now is Life Meets Work Senior Vice President Teresa Hopke and also Regina Lewis, USA Today contributor. Both of you, thank you very much for joining us. A very interesting and controversial topic. Regina, do you think Marissa Meyer maybe had it right? She got a lot of flack for saying no working from home at the time, but maybe she got it right all along.
Well, I think the verdict is certainly looking to be in her favor. And the culprit here, Mandy, is distraction. There's a great saying, the cleaner your home, the worse your next performance review. And that's before you get to the kids, the dog, and the yard. It's a zero-sum game when it comes to focus. And so workers at home find themselves, you know that phrase, life gets in the way? Well, it becomes heightened at home. And the lines are really blurry. But interestingly, technology was the enabler here. It let us, and Marissa Meyer knows this better than anyone else, stay at home. It'll also be the solution. So you hear a lot about personal analytics, which will become the money ball, if you will, of HR. Everyone will be a quantified employee. And that'll help keep things fair, whether you work at home or, frankly, whether you work in a corporate office and headquarters.
I'm guessing, Teresa, that you disagree with some of what Regina just said.
Yeah, I disagree with some of it and agree with some of it. I think that the bottom line is that I don't think this is a telework issue. I think that this is a basic management issue. Good old-fashioned management. Managers grew up by walking around and managing people, and they're most comfortable that way. And the reality is that the world has changed, and today we can't just manage people in that way. It requires a new set of skills to manage teleworkers, and managers aren't being taught those skills. And I think that that's what happened with this situation as well. I think the missing component here is that we aren't looking at people in the office in the same way that we are teleworkers. Telework is often the scapegoat. And I think that was the case in Yahoo and again here. It's very possible that people who are in the office are doing the same things, but people who are teleworking are under a different microscope. And so I think we need to look at good old-fashioned basic management principles as part of the issue with the issue of the telework problems here.
Well, Teresa, it sounds like they weren't under a different microscope. They weren't under a microscope at all. I mean, and the managers weren't allowed to even investigate when it sounds like they had pretty clear evidence that, you know, Bob wasn't around at 10 a.m. Bob might have been at the gym or at the grocery store, but they couldn't even prove it. This is one agency. We get that. But at the same point, if you're thinking about letting employees do it, you might hear the story on street signs and think, this is why we're not doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the basic problem here, is that we need to put checks and balances in place. You can't just turn employees over and tell them to telework without letting managers have some of that authority to check in. They need to be setting expectations. They need to be taking action if those expectations aren't being met. You can't just let people work from home without having check-in meetings, and you have to look for patterns of changes in their behavior, which is what happened at Yahoo. People weren't showing up for meetings. They weren't logging into their VPN. And so when you see those patterns of behavior, as a manager, you need to be able to address it. So you're absolutely right that in order for this to work, you have to set it up in that way.
Regina, in general, not just talking about the patent laws, but in general, do you agree with Teresa that there might be a double standard? There might be lots of workers who are in the office and they're all on Facebook, and they might be like, I don't know, yakking on the phone for personal reasons and not for work reasons. It's just that because they're there, you can see them, you think they're working.
I think there's something to that. I like to think all the easy jobs are gone at this point, and I do think that the bar is higher if you work at home, and it's a privilege, and you better step up. But if this is being solved for in hybrids with other things, I mean, look at football. You can't just tell the coach, hey, I'm ready for the opening game. Okay, no problem, we'll start you. Even when you go off to college now, it's not enough to say, oh, well, I attended the lecture. Really prove it. We're going to give you a clicker, and when we ask a question, we're going to ask you to click your answer, and that will validate that you're there. So I think there's going to be a combination of personal responsibility and technology.
I'll flip it. I know a lot of people that didn't like working from home when they got the chance because they worked all the time. They felt like they could never separate church and state, if you will. It was like, I'm here, I might as well get something done. It's like anything else in life. There's going to be some people that bust their butts and there's going to be some people that will do anything they can to avoid work. I mean, that's just the way it is, right?
Sure, I mean, know
You can't
thyself.
come to a conclusion.
No, I mean, I do think, I mean, I agree with Teresa. This is about the person at the end of the day. It's about managing your time. It's about time management. And you better get it really right if you don't have FaceTime and putting those systems in place. And by the way, if you're thinking of doing this, get that in place up front so there's no confusion. I gotta believe it. I'm not just trying to be Pollyannish here or give them the benefit of the doubt, but that a lot of people in this investigation probably weren't really clear. Was I on retainer? Was it hourly? Who's on first? And when you have confusion like that, everybody makes mistakes and it's not a good outcome.
Yeah, and the bottom line is that telework isn't for everyone. Not everyone's cut out to telework. There are lots of people who can't work from home because they're easily distracted. There are people who can't work from home because they can't stay away from the refrigerator. So you have to know yourself, and you have to be able to, as Regina said, set up those checks and balances in the beginning and give managers the skills to be able to manage people who work from home.
As well, so listen, I didn't wrap the segment because I was thinking about unicorns on rainbows. Right, and I'm hungry. So Teresa,
You're not a good
talking about
telework
me.
candidate.
Brian, I don't think you should ever work from home, my friend. Never.
I'm one of those people, just time to work in the refrigerator.
Teresa, Regina, thank you very much. Good debate, good discussion.
Okay, are you